And I just see this emphasis in Advaita so much, this emphasis on words.
Yes, but if you ask them, any of those, they would probably agree with you that the words are not really ever telling what it is, what it really is. It's that they're the most pointing, and that the words are limited, whatever is said.
Only meant to take you to the wordless. To take you beyond the need for the words. No? Yes?
Yeah, I mean, that's right, but I would also include the words, as you would as well. You know, otherwise we create a separation between the wordless and the words. Or we go as far as to say that silence is something desirable and words are something undesirable.
Well, I think what changes does become less desirable. It pales into insignificance, or can do.
Yes.
Because what doesn't change, what changes brings suffering, essentially, if you... Often we hear of people losing interest in the material world and all those things that change.
Yeah, the question is what suffering is based on, whether it's really the thoughts. In the end, when you see what you see, only that wordless reality is reality, and everything else is just bubbling up, and I believe that you wouldn't go as far as to reject what's bubbling up, because in the rejection itself would be a sense of maybe suffering, you know.
Yeah, not rejection, but a loss of interest.
A natural loss of interest. Yeah, that's right. But interestingly, what I feel is that whilst there may be less interest, because interest is thought related, you know, you believe you need this Jaguar to impress your neighbor, and you have the bigger car, and da da da. So that's thought related. But then driving the Jaguar without that thought that tells you that it is important would be a greater fun for you, having lost the interest in the importance of the Jaguar. And for example, I love ice cream. So eating ice cream, I could live without ice cream, but eating ice cream without the notion that it is a must and that I've got to have it to be happy is such a beautiful thing. Or drinking that water, or whatever.
Yes.
I think that the senses, without attaching importance to the object that provides the sense perception, can be much more beautiful. So I don't want to discard the enjoyment of the senses, basically.
Sure. So, just changing tact. So can you function, in your view, can you function without a me?
Yeah, without the identification with the me, yes, for sure.
Yes.
I think that's much easier to function.
Yes. So you could actually do away with the ego and still function very well.
Yeah, if you say ego and me is the same.
Yes.
I see. Because some say that the me is the identification with the ego, where you sense separation. And to say that an ego is still functioning means that there's still a body-mind organism that hangs somehow together and looks after itself. But there's no dependency from from where you're coming from, because the nothing is not depending on anything, obviously. But I can't relate to that thing that the ego still exists. Maybe we could rename it and not call it ego.
So there's no, with yourself, when thoughts arise, is there identification with them?
At the moment, no. At the moment, I see them as an emergence out of that space.
Okay, so all identification has stopped?
At the moment, I'd say so.
At the moment?
Yeah.
It's a funny term, at the moment.
Yeah, because that's all I can see. I have no idea what happens tomorrow.
Okay.
And so I don't want to state anything that will indicate that there's a person who has achieved anything.
I understand, but once that identification has collapsed, there will be no claims anyway.
And then,
well, I guess what I'm aiming at, was it some sort of effort, or was it just spontaneous?
No, a total interest. Yeah.
Total interest.
Yeah. Desperate interest.
Okay. And this is your business. How did you run a business like this, which is quite demanding, and have total interest?
Nothing that you do should deter you from it. But I think that it's a big excuse to say I can't be interested in that 100% because I'm running a business.
Generally, for people that claim that they don't know their true self, they'll play the game of working on it. And that is usually quite time consuming.
Oh no, that the working on it, this type of stuff is not. You can't work on being. It's not possible.
I understand, but nevertheless, when you had a passion in this started, you would have played the game of working on it. Even though, because you wouldn't have yet realised that you can't work on it. Do you see what I'm saying?
That's right. Yes, there was a belief that there's something that you have to achieve, and there was not the sense that you have something to discard. Yeah.
So you were running a business, that would have been quite time consuming. You would have had to put a lot of mind into the business. Did you feel that was a distraction at the time?
Let's put it that way. In theory.
Yeah, in theory.
In theory, I'd love to do nothing and just be on an island and just be.
Yeah.
That was a nice idea. All these organizations that try to pass on a message, no matter how much truth it contains, all of these ask the businesses for money. To do anything here, even to run a computer, you need money. And I have developed this app for non-duality, and I paid somebody thousands of dollars to develop it. And there's I saw somebody, there's an outsourcer somewhere in the Philippines who earns almost a full-time income by putting the events into the little app so that people can find it. I can't say that's a very popular app. People look at the option to buy that app. They say, "Oh, this guy, he wants to make money." I thought if somebody doesn't want to pay the $1.99, they're not really interested. But I'm considering to remove that and make it a free app, just so that it does its job, which means people will actually download it.
Is there a relationship between somebody who teaches and charging money? Should there be a relationship? Can there be a relationship?
I personally don't mind, whatever. They're different people and they have different priorities, and some say, I do it for free, and they live on donations, usually from businesses, or from somebody who has earned money, or they charge, and I think it doesn't matter. Money is not that important.
So what compels the desire for profit if there's no longer an identification with me?
There's none. There's none, except that that a business has to be alive.
I'm talking about an Advaita teacher charging, I don't know, $50 for their satsang. Is there a relationship between somebody who's teaching and the pursuit of profit from that teaching? What's your feeling on that?
I mean, I can see where you're coming from, and there are people who say one shouldn't charge, and I couldn't care less, and I think it's up to the people to attend it or not.
If you no longer identify with a me, why would you be looking to profit?
Yeah.
Not you, just a teacher. Is there?
You would not be depending on profit, but you would still play the game of profit if your conditioning is to be a business person. And the motivation may be different. You don't know what they do with the profit. They may be totally altruistic with the money that they take in, so we don't know what happens with it.
No, and I'm not even directing this at anybody in particular. I'm just wondering, is there a contradiction, in your view, between there's no me, now pay me $50? Is there a contradiction there? Just wondering, just curious as to what your view. Is there a contradiction there?
I mean, is there a contradiction with you having a good cup of coffee and having no me? And
but would you pursue that cup of coffee?
To the same extent that I pursue the $50 that somebody pays me if I make a course, if I give a course. But I guess most people who would organize these courses would not see it as being concerned about profit. It would be just a way to earn a livelihood. There's, for example, one lady, Unmani. She's a lovely person. Have you seen her? And she is earning money when she's teaching.
What's her name? As soon as you say me, as soon as you say I've seen the true self, well, you've entered into the realm of words.
Yeah, and you look into the past.
Of course.
Yeah.
But you're only left with two options. One is to keep your mouth closed and stay completely silent, or engage the silly game of words and stumble over them.
I prefer the second, because I think it's a bigger challenge.
Yeah, and then the challenge is get your words right.
Or,
the challenge.
or accept that they're rumbling and imperfect and so forth.
And that's why it's so easy to turn this into a word game. Because you got if you can speak really eloquently about Advaita, bravo.
Yeah, you're more likely to attract people who listen to you.
Exactly. So
yeah, that's
but
why
the words are
everybody...
irrelevant. The words are irrelevant.
Yes, but that is, for example, a word in itself. So if you were a teacher and you were to say to the people who want to learn from you that words are irrelevant, that would be a beautiful pointer.
And, you know, Advaita has been turned into a commercial enterprise these days, unfortunately.
Yeah. Again, I would say it shouldn't be seen as being in conflict with commerce. I wouldn't go as far as to relate it to needing to be a beggar or other instructions of how you should live.
I agree with all of that. I agree totally, because you know, anything that changes is irrelevant, essentially. So money, fame, all of that is essentially irrelevant. You know, your essential being is a constant, regardless of the environment you're in, whether you're in poverty or in wealth.
Yes.
However, on recognition of the so-called true self,
you think that you let go of those things, but the habit may just continue. And there were kings who were self-realized, and there were beggars who were self-realized.
No, I come essentially from a Zen background, and anything goes in Zen. It's not about being pure in Zen.
I like that, because that fear of impurity is in itself impure. It's like when you said before that being is expressing itself as everything. And then we can apply this also in a sense to our expression, that we are not afraid of expressing ourselves. We trust the moment, so we stop having the rules of what we can do and what not. And spontaneously you will do whatever falls into place in a given moment.
But nevertheless, it does tend to give way to certain behaviours. Behaviour tends to be marked by compassion.
You have laws that would tell you that somebody behaves compassionate or not.
No. I have no laws. The sense of being is lawless. And we see this across the globe. Anything goes. But it does tend to be the case that when you recognize the true self, so-called, it does tend to give way to all those so-called virtues. It tends to. Because we're not acting we're not identifying with me.
But you see the world as Francis Lucille puts it nicely, and he says conscience and consciousness have the same meaning. Con means together, and science means knowing. So if there's a knowledge that we are basically, or the seeing, the knowing, that we are basically made all out of the same nothingness, and you perceive what you see as not being separate from that nothingness that you are, you would spontaneously tend to not act against the well-being of the environment that you are in. So it's a spontaneous thing. It's the same as being nice to your own body. You don't need to tell yourself that you have to love your body. So likewise, you would look after everything that's in the environment spontaneously without needing to make a law out of it.
Yeah, so if you see yourself, it does tend to give way to a certain way of treating others. Yes?
Yeah.
No?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, but it's not predictable.
Okay. But you're no longer identifying with your selfishness anymore. So, I mean, it always gets sticky.
Because you still celebrate. You know, every moment that you breathe, you celebrate, even from a sense of being. It's not that you deny yourself to celebrate. And I'm sure that Ramana Maharshi enjoyed his food, and he read the newspaper, and he enjoyed himself. He enjoyed talking to the people.
Of course.
So there's a sense of natural expression of life that wants to enjoy itself, which is the whole reason for this game. Not self-concern, but just...
Reason for this game. What do you mean, reason for this game?
If there's a purpose, it would be just the pleasure of expressing yourself. You know, life expressing itself, not being just the silence, but expressing itself without losing the sense of being that which is no word. At the same time, enjoying the game without clinging to it and without, in a way, relating to it even. But there's still an experiencing of the game, which is entertaining, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you don't. I don't believe that you deny entertainment. You know, as long as you don't believe that the entertainment will ever make anybody happy.
No, look, I think what's the saying? There's a Zen saying: "Before enlightenment, chopping wood." You know it.
Yes.
After enlightenment, chopping wood. So the outward world, you know, effectively need not change. Just carries on, as it always has.
But you're in agreement with it, which is the change. You know, you're in agreement with life expressing itself as it does, whereas previously you were not in agreement. You were struggling with what is, and you wanted things to change, and you want to improve, and you want to.
No, well, hang on.
Before
that's still completely and utterly valid. Let's say somebody did have that ambition. That's completely fine, isn't it? That would still be a complete and utter expression of the universe.
Yes, as long as that person wouldn't believe in the idea that this will lead to happiness. Because that's the one crucial point where in the pursuit of a goal, the idea is maintained that by achieving that goal it will contribute to your happiness, and it doesn't.
Yeah, well, if you pay enough attention, the fleeting nature of the images passing across the screen, just by virtue of recognizing that fleeting nature, the importance will diminish. The attempt to extract happiness from those fleeting images will dissipate. And what is beneath and around and through those fleeting images holds the attention. And that is what does not change. We can spend an entire life, can't we, just aware of the moving images. And we try and hold on to one moving image, and then it goes, and we try and grab another one, and then it goes, and we just keep doing this. And it's painful. And somehow some of us recognize what's always there, and that frees us from those fleeting images.
In a way they become irrelevant, as you say, and in spite of the fact that they become irrelevant, you are saying there's still a possibility to strive for improving something. And that, I agree with that. You can still do something. You can still learn to become a better cook.
What about this analogy? Well, the standard, very common analogy of the screen and the images.
Yeah.
You've got the screen, and you've got the images moving across. The only problem arises, it's not that the images are there. The only problem arises is when the images get stuck. And then they move it, and then they get stuck again. You know, it's not that there are images. It's not even that there's an image of me or an image of I passing across the screen. It's that they get stuck. And they're not flowing through. And also, typically, there's no even recognition of the screen. There's just the images. That's all that's seen is the images. Because I think when you pursue the Advaita, you start to see the screen. And the images, they don't get stuck as much. They just flow through. That's probably a clumsy analogy, but...
The awareness or the wordless that you see is not in any way separate from what is seen.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. So simple and...
So simple that you wonder why anybody talks about it.
Yeah, but if you lose sight, or if you appear to lose sight, you know, it's a world of suffering.
That's right.
But if you can see it clearly, yeah, there's no longer anybody to be. There's no longer anybody in prison, and there's no longer any liberation. It's just this, isn't it?